The Aggies, the Jazz, the high schools. If it's the sport you care about, we're talking about it. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
A happy Monday to you all. 5:01 your start time for the second hour of the Full Court Press. Grateful to have you, however, and wherever you are joining us. Don't forget you can find us on all podcast platforms, iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. Also, you can stream us on 1069thefan.com. We have a very shortened second hour because of the Cowboys and Giants Monday Night Football game, which will be aired here.
I don't know if I'd say it's a very shortened hour.
45 minutes.
If we had like 5 minutes to be on the air, that would be very shortened.
Shut up. For all the content we have to talk about,
15 minutes of our show is cut out.
That's a lot.
Which is a lot, considering a Monday where we have a lot to kind of recap
now
and
you
recover.
see now I understand what he's saying.
But honestly,
just take over the show. So you freaking know what you're talking about.
There's not a whole lot I think I can say without getting in trouble with the federal regulators of the FCC.
We have a delay button, don't we? We have a
not in
button.
here.
We don't have a dump button in here?
No.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's a problematic.
We need a dump button for what we're about to hit on here. Ajay, Salvesen, Eric Frandsen here on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM The Fan. It is time to go into therapy mode. 42-14 is our final at Maverick Stadium. The old wagon wheel returns back to Provo as BYU obliterates the Aggies. As the Aggies, again, for the second week in a row, just get carved up defensively, shut down offensively, and are nowhere to be found. And now they have to get ready for a gauntlet stretch of Fresno, Wyoming, and Boise State in back-to-back-to-back weeks. No breaks in between. So let's start here. Eric, when you first... I went back on Sunday. So I got home at about 2 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. And I got up like at 6 because my mind was just spinning. Like, what happened? Now, you had a very active, lively post-game, thanks to fans calling in. And again, I mean, even when you went out into grocery stores, whatever, people, Eric, what's going on? Eric, is the Aggie team okay? What do you know? Eric, give us your reaction to this loss.
Yeah, the last 48 hours, I've not been able to avoid conversations about that game. And so you talked about how they shut down the Utah State offense. And I don't know that and there was some dialogue going on through the game and after the game, critical of the Utah State offense. I'm hesitant to agree with that in the sense that Jordan Love threw for almost 400 yards. The problem was he also threw 3 picks. 5 times Utah State offense stalled on their drives because of turnovers. It was a better offensive performance Saturday night than we had seen the previous 2 weeks. Even against Nevada, it was a better offensive flow. But when you throw 3 picks and put the ball on the ground twice, that's almost impossible to overcome. The problem really for me was so many problems. But some of the big problems for me was that Jordan Love consistently has trouble identifying where the linebackers are. A number of his interceptions have happened or occurred across the middle or on the edges where he's not getting the ball off in time and the linebackers pick him off. And why was he still in the game with 4 minutes to go when it was clearly decided?
Yeah, a question I think a lot of people had over social media and a few people had towards me was why didn't Henry Colomby get a chance to go in there and give it a shot when this game was well out of hand, middle and late into the fourth quarter? Why didn't Peasley, but why didn't, a couple other kids even get a chance to play? Again, that's a coaching decision. Coach was not asked about that today, by the way, in his press conference. We'll get into some of that sound and audio here in just a little bit.
So, for me, Ajay, just to move on to this, as I talked about last hour as well, I'm hesitant to be overly critical of the offense because I thought it was a better offensive performance than we've seen in the last couple of weeks. But what is problematic is the Utah State defense. It's been consistently blown up over the last couple of weeks in ways that are really unexpected. Just how bad they're getting exposed. And BYU could do what it wanted. Air Force could do what it wanted. And that Utah State defensive front, not anything close to what we thought it was earlier in the year. So, for me, I think we should be talking more about the defensive problems. Everybody's focusing on Jordan Love and the offense. Man, we should be talking about this defense.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in just a little bit. Here's Coach Anderson's opening statement of the press conference. By the way, and just a reminder, no players were presented in the conference itself. It was just Coach Anderson today, and it's just a small sample size of audio. Here's Coach Anderson's opening statement recapping the BYU game and getting ready for Fresno.
BYU game, obviously, we're disappointed. Everybody that's an Aggie is disappointed, and a tough football game. BYU played well, and they deserved to win the football game. It came down to a lot of the same things I thought at the end of the game. The turnovers were huge, and missed tackles were a big part of it. A mobile quarterback gave us problems, which was an issue at times. BYU made some big plays on the offensive side of the ball, and if we can, again, convert in the red zone, we get an opportunity, and just ball up a little bit on defense in the red zone. It's a different score. See if the outcome would have been different, but the score could have been different. But it was not. So we have to buckle up, dive in, and keep on grinding and keep on fighting. I know these kids will do that. They'll come back. They've already come back this morning. They'll come back this afternoon and get themselves prepared for another tough game against Fresno. Fresno State is an athletic team, as always. They've had some solid games as they've gone through the year, obviously, and have continued to battle just like we're continuing to battle through the year. We're in very similar spots, and they're last year's champions, and so they have a good football team, and they understand how to be able to win football games. We've got to get on an airplane and fly over there and play them in that spot over in Fresno on their home court. So that's a great opportunity, and we look forward to getting back to work here in the next couple hours. And we got 4 of those left, and that are all guaranteed. And we'll see what we can get done to make that move on to another one as we go through time. But we're in the fight, we're in the race, and our kids, I know they'll be excited to come back and battle, which they will.
So let's start here. Their red zone chances, which he talked about, they need to convert in. They only had 3, and they went 1 of 3. 1 of 3 in the red zone. And, of course, you had, there was a pick by Love. Was it Gerald Bright fumble in the red zone, too? Or was that just outside?
That's a good question where that was on the field. I can't remember.
I can't remember where it was out on the field. I'm still trying to remember, and I don't. Actually, it's right here. It was. No, it's not. Does it? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was on the 14-yard line. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
And then
there was that ineligible receiver downfield, right?
Yeah.
And USU wasn't able to convert. It was a sure touchdown. It was a quick strike. Chelsea Mariner looked like, okay, early in the second half. But, okay, Utah State's still in this game. This is going to be a shootout. But then the penalty pushes them back. They don't get anything out of it. They go for it on 4th down. They still don't get into the end zone. And BYU proceeds to score 21 unanswered points in the second half.
That was amazing. And by the way, that was with their backup quarterback.
Yep.
Their backup quarterback.
Back up to the back.
I mean, Uncle Rico was on the sideline throwing and getting warmed up and ready to go.
Foot.
Yeah, and that's the other problem is that defensively, you brought this up. They didn't do anything to present any sort of pressure at all whatsoever. I mean, there was times where Rami was going back there, he'd comb his hair, wave to his girlfriend, find his parents in the stands, wave to them, look at the clock, then finally go through all his progression reads, and then throw the ball. I mean, sure, that's an exaggeration, but then when you watch film, and I rewatched that game, there was nothing. Like, he had all day to look, and look. I mean, it was a great job by the offensive line, and a really, really good job by them.
And every time they ran the ball, they got big chunk yards.
Yeah. Big gap. Yeah, at one play, I think it was their first drive. No, their third drive, I believe. Turned to a touchdown. But no, was it their second drive of the second half? They faced 1 second down, and that was on the first. And that was on their first set of downs. They faced 1 second down. Everything else was chunk plays. 14 here, 15 here. Then they had the 36-yard pass, another 15-yard run, and they were in. They scored. Time of possession has been kind of a big thing as of late, especially against teams like Air Force and BYU. Time of possession once again did not favor them. 35 minutes and 14 seconds for BYU to the 24-46 of Utah State. BYU held the ball for chunks of time. In fact, they held it for just over over 19 minutes in the second half. And USU just over 11.
Okay, so that's been another point that people are talking to me about too. Is look, this offense isn't on the field long enough. This quick pace stuff isn't working, and it's problematic for the defense. With the Air Force game, it was way out of whack. And the defense was on the field for way too long. But that wasn't the problem in my mind.
It was for me because when you go out there...
At least in this game for Saturday night, the time of possession, I think it can be a little bit overrated because the offense was sustaining drives. We didn't have a lot of punts. We had a lot of turnovers.
But here's the thing for me is why it was such a big deal. BYU would go in about 4 or 5 minutes, 4:41, 5:15, whatever it is, drive and score. Utah State's offense would go out there, go 3 and out in 41 seconds. And then you have Utah State's defense back out there for another 4.5, 5 minutes. Sure, it's not the 6.5, 7, 8 minutes that you get from San Diego State or Air Force. But it's with the defense that's humming like they were, it's hard not to ignore that.
I agree. I mean, that does make a difference. You need to be able to keep your offense on the field and get their offense off. But the Utah State defense was having trouble with BYU in the first half, and they were still having trouble with them in the second half. If your defense is on the field a lot, then the points start to just really add up, and the floodgates open like in the fourth quarter. By then, your defense is gassed. If you've been on the field a lot and time of possession is really askew the other way, then you see a lot of late scoring by the other team. We didn't see that. We saw 14 points in the third quarter. You can't tell me after a halftime break where you're not on the field and it was not that far different in the first half that your defense is coming out the third quarter just gassed. So it's not just time of possession. Yeah, Utah State needs to be able to hold on to the ball more and have sustained drives and get into the end zone. That would solve a lot of problems. Yes. But it's not just that.
Yeah, no, and again, you're right. There is multiple facets to why they're getting beat the way they are. But I was texting a friend last night about this just the stance, or I guess the situation where this team is right now, the vibe. And his last line in the text message conversation really is what stood out to me the most. This doesn't add up. Something is not adding up here. And it's bigger than X's and O's. It's much bigger than that. There's problems. I mean,
something's going on.
Yeah, there's
something is going on.
Yeah, there's something else that's amiss that we don't know about. I mean, whether that's I don't know if it's within the locker room or if it's within the coaching staff or what. There's something else going on, and I can't tell you what it is because I don't know. I flat out don't know. But for a team this talented to get blown out the way they have in back-to-back weeks scares me. Really, really scares me.
Ajay, in their 3 losses, I mean, to start the year, they were 3-1. And in that one loss, they still looked good. Since then, they're 1-3. And in those 3 losses, they have looked horrible. They've been outscored 115-27.
Yeah.
Something changed when they got ready to play LSU. And they haven't been the same since.
Yeah, that's fair enough to say. Again, final score 42-14. BYU beats Utah State Aggies. You talked about the defense, and when he was asked about, look, the tackling issues are absolutely evident to everybody watching the football game. How can you fix that, or can you? Here's Coach Anderson's answer.
Well, I think that there's a lot of things that you can actually do. There's opportunities to leverage the ball a little bit differently with the other defenders that are on the field. I always think it's important to look at the whole field and what's getting you into those one-on-one tackling scenarios, those one-on-one tackling situations. You always want to try to make it be as a condensed field as you can with the other defenders on how they're leveraging and how they're moving themselves back into the field on the defensive side. And at times that can improve. You can improve angles, even if you're not really physical and you're tackling and you're, getting guys down to the ground, and that's a big part of it, obviously. But there's more to it. There's the point to where the tackle takes place that I think you can strive to improve on as you work through practice, and then there's times when you need to, actually lay your hands on people and wrap them up, and sometimes to the ground, and sometimes. Just to get into the position to physically be able to take them to the ground. So there's things we can work on. It's disappointing, and we need to, bottom line, we need to coach it better. That's always been my philosophy. When something's not good, we need to look at it and take responsibility, and the kids will too, and we'll make sure they do. We'll work on it.
I mean, you can't be happy with anything. Right?
No, there's a lot that goes into that, and I think it'd be a cop out sitting here in any way, shape, or form as a coach to just sit there and say, oh well, if the kids tackle better, our scheme's perfect, we're great coaches, and we just got to tackle better. That's not the case. We can work to tweak the schemes and help the kids get where they need to be and have a better understanding. There's no real reason to sit back and when you're in a struggling time and you're dealing with adversity. If you've done this long enough, which, obviously I have, there's going to be times when it's really good and you can sit up here and pound your back and say, I'm great. There's times when you can sit up here and say, I'm not great. And that's just not my style. My style is to look back and say, hey, we'll work to get the kids better in bad. And when it's good, it's all the kids. So, but we can help them. I think that's the key thing, is to help them and make sure it's crystal clear in their minds and it's clean and they can play fast and precise. And just because it looks good on the board all the time, it doesn't always look good out there on the field. And so we'll work to do that. Last week our goal was to play fast, physical, and smart. We need to be more physical, and we need to put the kids in a position to be more physical also. I think we can help them do that.
Eric, you're the one that brought up the ideas of tackling and defense and the issues. Are you satisfied with the answer or no?
I didn't. I keep hearing, got to be more physical. I'm not seeing them be more physical. The problem, like I said, my big problem with the game on Saturday was the defense for Utah State. I swear, gosh, it had to have been more than half of BYU's receiving yards are yards that happen after the catch. I don't know that I've seen so many missed tackles by Utah State defense. It's been a long time since I've seen so many missed tackles. It's not like BYU had some magic formula about how to plant and cut and move that we haven't seen before. It's bizarre. So the defense wasn't more physical. And the BYU had so many extra yards after the catch that was, I don't know, what do you do?
Or even runs. Be able to gash through runs the way they were able to get to the second level and then break tackles and then get to the third level and off to the races they were. It was amazing. Like the QB sneak, that was I think it was 3rd and 1, went for 13 because all he did is he just took one step to the side and was gone for 12 more yards. Was just, that said everything you needed to know about the night defensively. Now, a lot of it can be attributed to this very crappy situation. David Woodward is out for the season. He is not playing. They did not specify why, but they just simply said that he is done for the year. Here is Coach Anderson on that.
That's hard.
All right. Sorry, wrong one. Let's try this one. That's another quote for another day. Here we go.
Not having David is a huge blow for every Aggie at every level. It is what it is, but it's hardest for him. Trust me, it's the hardest for the kid. It's he'll go through it, but it's a devastating blow to a young man to be in that spot. And as a player, I had 2 half a seasons taken away from me, and it's tough. So the key is to help him, and then help the young guys that are playing. We need to continually help Elijah and help Ajay get better and work out there as a unit, and make sure that Kevin doesn't feel like he has to just take care of a freshman all the time and get him lined up so that Kevin doesn't do his job as well as he can do his job. So it's a big blow. Our kids will. You need to pick it up where it is and go from there. I think I said it earlier today on an interview. I think we lost David now, and I don't think it's fair to Fua if we just forget about Fua, because he wasn't there the first game of the year. So if we're talking about guys who've been gone for the year that are great players, Fua has to be mentioned in that spot also. Not as an excuse because we lost him. That's where we're at and the way we're playing. But I think it's in fairness to Fua to recognize him as a great player that was with us and is no longer with us as David is now.
That's the other problem, is when Woodward was out there was some sense of leadership, right, of directing people where to be. Everyone knew their assignment. They looked lost.
And he rarely missed tackles.
Oh, yeah.
So he was in there and at least slowed things down where other guys could get in there to help make a tackle and stop the whatever it was, a short pass or a run.
There were numerous plays where they just looked absolutely lost. Like, no idea where they were at. I mean, they were scrambling around.
Out of position.
You saw, DJ Williams telling one guy, hey, you're supposed to be over here. You saw Kevin. Kevin had to do this a lot. Besides playing the game, he was directing kids, pulling jerseys, trying to get kids into certain spots for that certain play. And it was just a mess. It really, really was. And, we're trying not to give excuses, but when you're missing your leading tackler and a kid who's nationwide on a lot of watch lists and respected for his ability to play the game of football and as a person.
Arguably one of the top linebackers in the country.
Yeah, just that. It's really, really extremely unfortunate, and our thoughts and prayers are with David that he'll be able to recover and be okay, and he'll be good to go next year if he's able to come back. All right, we're going to take a break, come back, we'll get into more Aggies football. 435-752-1069. If you got any thoughts on this game or on the game upcoming, Fresno State, give us a call, 435-752-1069. It's a Therapy Monday for all you Aggie fans here on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
The Aggies, the Jazz, the high schools, the full court press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
It's Christmas music in honor of Cash Fire Radio Network, starting it up.
They did launch a Christmas station today.
They did.
Flip the format.
That's right.
Over on Light FM 103.3.
I'm so excited. I hate Christmas, but I love just when you guys play Christmas music. Just
24/7 now.
Ruins my year.
Now through Christmas.
Can't wait. Last season.
That should be a 5 best sometime. 5 best modern Christmas songs.
Oh, very good. Or 5 best Christmas games ever played. NBA. Or 5 best. Yeah, that works. Last season, Utah State was looking pretty darn good at this point.
They're looking very good at this point.
And now we stare at a 4-4 football team with 4 games remaining. And for me, in my opinion, one of those are for sure winnable games. The other 3 are, well, it depends which team shows up.
Right. Questionable. I totally agree with you. New Mexico, I think, is still a very winnable game. Everything else is questionable. I thought before the Aggies went into LSU, and even after the LSU game, I felt like, Utah State can go into Fresno State and beat the Bulldogs. I think they can beat Wyoming. They can beat New Mexico. Boise State, don't know. Probably not, but could be an interesting game. Now, New Mexico is the only thing I see as most likely.
Okay, so...
And even then, it's not guaranteed.
You and I had this conversation before. And now it's even more relevant because based on where the Mountain West Conference stands at right now, and it's pretty loaded as it is. So the question now becomes, with the Mountain West, here, I'll tell you this. Boise State right now is 7-1. They're bowl eligible. In fact, they've already qualified for a bowl. Air Force 7-2. Wyoming 6-2. San Diego State 7-1. Fresno State's 4-4. But Hawaii's 5-4. As is Nevada. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams without naming Utah State that are now close to being or are bowl eligible. Being 6-6 in this conference will not get you a bowl game. Let's be honest right now.
I think you're right. I think that Hawaii and maybe even Nevada could become bowl eligible here pretty soon. Without looking at their schedules, they're just one win away. And then, gosh, even Colorado State's kind of turning things around for them. So there's going to be a lot of bowl-eligible teams, I think, in the Mountain West Conference. And if Utah State just becomes bowl-eligible, if they finish 6-6, I don't know if they get in. I mean, it'll help that they played and defeated San Diego State. It will have helped that they played LSU and Wake Forest, 2 top 25 teams. But I don't know. They didn't win those games, so they have to get to 7. I agree. They have to get to 7 if they want to make sure they go bowling.
6 is probably going to knock you out of the bowl picture. Or 6 might put... Well, no. 6 won't even get you into the Idaho Potato Bowl. It won't.
I mean, there's some chance, and where I'm seeing several different people who update their bowl projections every week, and there are a number of them that are predicting that some of these Power 5 conferences won't be able to fill all of their bowl arrangements.
Yeah.
So a conference like the Mountain West will be filling their full slot and then additional ones as well. I mean, you can hope that happens, but you can't rely on it. Look what happened to Wyoming a year ago. Yeah. They got left out.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more.
By the way, Hawaii, they play San Jose State this week. Then they play UNLV. Then they finish with San Diego State and Army. Hawaii's going to be bowl eligible. They're going to get that 6th win for sure, I think. And then I think the other question would be Nevada. They're 5-4. Could they become bowl eligible? Well, they only have 3 games left. San Diego State, at San Diego State. They're probably not going to win that one. At Fresno, who knows? And then they finish in their rivalry game against UNLV. So they could become bowl eligible if they win the rivalry game.
Just got a message from somebody, and they want to know from you, Eric. Would no bowl be better than getting a crappy bowl? I would say no.
You still want to go to a bowl game.
I'll take a bowl game in a heartbeat.
You still want to go to a bowl game.
I'll take a bowl game in a heartbeat.
It means a lot for recruiting to say that you're still a bowl game. It gives another opportunity for your seniors. The extra practices that you get is really helpful for your underclassmen. There are a lot of positives for going to a bowl game.
You want to go to a bowl game, no matter what.
Yes, that is still something to strive for. Even if it is not very good and the payout's not that great, there are other intrinsic things that come with participating in a bowl game that really help a program.
Speaking of importance of games, BYU is a rivalry, right? Old wagon wheel. You could have won it for 3 straight years. That's no longer there. But is there a bigger picture in why you're playing Fresno, that you're competing for a Mountain West Conference championship? Coach Anderson's thoughts?
I mean, that's hard to say.
Yeah, the BYU game has obviously great importance. When you grow up in a rivalry and whatever side you're on it's huge, and to lose it stings. It hurts a lot, and you gotta sit and you gotta stare at that empty spot where the wagon wheel is supposed to be for a whole year, and that's sports. That's what we signed up for, and is that the way we want it to be? Absolutely not. So we'll you have to be able to again move on and get to the next game, but it stings. It stings bad. It's a tough deal. there's always a little bit more that goes into a rivalry game, and I think anybody that says that there's not, then you either need to understand that it is a little bit more important, or your feelings are wrong. I guess one of the two. But to get back to where we are, we're 3-1 in conference, and we're battling ourselves to be in a position. We got to go on the road and play well, which we've done in the past. We've beat some, very, very good San Diego State team on the road, and they've proved to be that as they've moved through the year. So opportunities will be there. The Aggies need to continue to work to grow and develop, and there was some good signs in that game, and there was some signs that weren't good. So we'll look to address them all and work to get better.
Yeah. I'm going to be that guy, and I really hate to be this guy, but we heard that a week ago as well.
Heard it for 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah. I'd like to see some I just like to see it be put into action, right? I really would. I mean, we're going to talk about being physical. Let's be physical. I mean, look, honestly, I hate to do this, but I even would like to see someone, put up a big block. Or someone, even get a pass interference call because you're mugging him. And as he's laying on the ground, just kind of look and be like, it's going to be that kind of a night. We're going to be all over you tonight. And it was almost like this team was playing too tentatively, offensively and defensively, not being the physical team that we're used to seeing. Again, where does that blame fall percentage-wise between coaches and players? Everybody's going to have to each their own guess or opinion. But I'm kind of starting to lean, I think you said this earlier, Eric, I agree with you, that you almost just got to kind of look at the coaches and say, it's your turn to look in the mirror. Figure it out and get these kids ready for this big 3-game stretch. If you go 1-2 in this stretch, your bowl game is, it's gone. You're done.
Right. There's already 4 teams in the Mountain West that are already bowl eligible. There are 2 more that are knocking on the door, Hawaii and Nevada. I can easily see them becoming bowl eligible. Hawaii could become it sooner than later. That would make 6 teams already, with another couple more that may get there. So if you want to go bowling, it's got to start this week. Yeah, this team has got to make a statement about who they are and what they want to do.
Yeah. Where do they want their season to land?
Right. Do they really want to be contenders in the Mountain West? You got to turn things around real quick.
I got a message, and this is a great question, and you might have answered this already, but they said what it comes down to is, did we play better against BYU than we did Air Force? He says, I don't think we did. I say we did.
Utah State did play better against BYU than they did Air Force.
Absolutely.
No question in my mind.
The effort and the lack of showing, just not even showing up, coaches or players against Air Force.
It was just
so horrendous.
Bad.
One of the ugliest losses since the Brent Guy era.
Right. There were so many 3-and-outs. Offense just never got going. There was one drive early in the second half that looked good.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah.
This last Saturday, there were multiple drives. Jordan Love for almost 400 yards, but he throws 3 picks. They put the ball on the ground twice. So 5 different drives get killed because of turnovers. And then defensively, they got gashed. The defense consistently has been problematic the last 2 weeks. But the offense was better, I think, Saturday than it was Saturday before.
By far. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, we're going to take a break, coming back. Look, Eric, it was a really rough weekend for me. The Aggies lost. My Patriots lost. And then the Jazz decided to go ahead and blow 2 games, too, just to add on to the...
Yeah, 2 games they should have won.
And there's a common theme as to why they didn't win those games.
I think I know what you're going to talk about.
That's all coming up next. Eric Frandsen on one side. I'm Ajay Salvesen. It's the Full Court Press.
Talking the sports you care about. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio. 106.9 FM. 1390 AM. The Fan.
5:39 your time. We are having a shortened show. In about 4 minutes, you're gonna hear the Monday Night Football game, at least the pregame of it. Giants, Cowboys, and you'll get the play-by-play call here on this very station. Monday Night Football, really cool theme, really cool. Be able to listen to Monday Night Football here on the radio.
Yeah, we got NFL games here on the fan. We got some college football games on Saturdays. It's exciting.
It is. All right, we got to get into. Let's pour on the salt of a salty weekend for those. Not only in the Valley, also in the state of Utah. This one equals everybody's thoughts and feelings on a really rough weekend for a team that's expected to do a lot. I'm talking about your Utah Jazz, who fall to not once but twice over, in my opinion, beatable teams in games that they should have won. Who did they play on Friday night, Eric?
That was the Sacramento Kings,
and then
that
the
was
Clippers
down
last
to the wire.
Night. Yep.
And then the Jazz were in it with the Clippers until the last few minutes.
Should have.
But the consistent problem has been blocking out. Each opponent has been able to get second chance opportunities, easy putbacks.
Yeah, it was a problem for most of the night, and then it continued to be a problem for them last night. And it is. It's rebounding. Rebounding's been the issue. Now against Sacramento, Bogdanović just wasn't paying attention to where he was on the court, where his man was on the court, and really the ball took a pretty nice bounce too.
Yeah, but we like to focus on one play, but there were multiple before that. It shouldn't even come to that.
Yeah, the one that the ball bounced and Rudy Gobert and Ingles took off, and Sacramento grabbed it and put it in for a layup. I look at that play. There's a couple where, just the effort for rebounding, it hasn't been there thus far, and it's been pretty porous to watch. They lose 105-94 to the Clippers last night in a game that they were in it until about 45 seconds left, and that's when things kind of pulled away. Kawhi Leonard, who was extremely quiet in the first half, erupts in the fourth quarter. This is what makes him one of the top 3 players in the whole entire world. He had 18 of his 30 in the fourth quarter. And there were shots that he was taking. Royce O'Neal did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
It's just that sometimes
it's hard to ask any more than what he was doing.
It's just that, sometimes a player is just going to have that ability to hit big shots, and he did it. Donovan Mitchell was really good last night. He had 36 for the Jazz, kept him in it almost the whole entire night.
So I liked what Donovan was doing, forcing the issue in the fourth quarter. He kept getting fouled. He was stopping the clock. He was going to the free throw line. But that was working quite a bit for quite a while there, but I felt like that's all he was trying to do. And in doing so, it took his teammates out of what was going on, so that when those calls weren't happening, or if he didn't get the call, then the offense just kind of started to sputter a little bit. And then he would force up some bad shots or bad passes, and he would get into some bad situations. And then everybody else is a little bit out of sync.
On the good note, Utah Jazz forward Joe Ingles has now played 310 straight games. That's the longest active streak in the NBA. Also, since the start of the 2014-15 season, Ingles has played in more games, 412, than anyone else in the NBA. The Jazz now get ready for what's a continued daunting stretch. They get the Bucks and then the Sixers. The Sixers on Wednesday, the Bucks on Friday.
Embiid will be his first game back from his suspension too.
Yeah,
and they're undefeated.
They are. Yeah, it's a tough schedule. You needed to get that Suns game. You had to get that Suns game, and they dropped that one, and then they dropped the Sacramento game, and now you drop the Clippers game. All 3 are winnable games for the Utah Jazz. We'll have those games here on 106.9 The Fan, except for Friday. Well, Friday's a 6 o'clock game, so
we'll be joining it in progress.
We'll talk tomorrow night on a Tuesday edition of the Full Court Press.